Hey, everybody. We are here at the homestead with Cardio Miracle, and I am super excited because I have a very special guest. Dr. Josh Helman is here. Sir, it is a pleasure.
It's great to meet you, and thanks for including me today.
Listen, I would not miss this for the world. You are an expert on what the experts are considering to be one of the number one topics that is affecting every American, maybe even every human on earth. Yet it has become an epidemic. You are an expert of what?
Specifically, reversing Alzheimer's disease.
Woo! Listen, I can pause right there and take a breath because I want to tell you something. The Alzheimer's disease, this epidemic, doctor, is affecting the rich, is affecting the poor, is affecting every human alive. Yet we are still discovering the effects of how it's ruining our lives. It is overwhelming, but yet you have hope.
A lot of hope because we're able to reverse Alzheimer's. And one of the reasons I'm meeting with you today is to let the public know that this is even a thing. When I give public talks, about a third of the people look at me like I'm crazy because they're like, well, we all know you can't reverse it. But the cool thing is, now that we understand many of the root causes for Alzheimer's, we can address those root causes and actually reverse the Alzheimer's.
Listen, I wanted to sit down with you during this event with Cardio Miracle, and we want to thank Cardio Miracle, John Hewitt, Lisa Hill, and everyone behind the scenes for inviting us here, the PTL Network. Listen, stay tuned because you're going to hear great interviews from some of the top leaders in the fields of what we're going through in life. But you're also going to hear about hope. And the hope is that Cardio Miracle is becoming the hope that you have been praying for. But let's jump in because one of the greatest topics that we're facing right now is reversing Alzheimer's. But I want to ask you this question that I hear all the time, doctor, is what are the warning signs to identify when a loved one is experiencing the first steps of Alzheimer's?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the first step is can be a little bit different with different people. So for some people, their memory is just not like where it was. Like, where did I put my keys this morning? But it's interesting with certain types of Alzheimer's, it's not the memory that goes first, it's the emotional connection.
Ooh.
So, which is tricky, right? Because you can have people with anxiety or detachment or depression. And I'm not saying that all those cases are Alzheimer's, but what I am saying is, in my opinion, those things are all brain disorders. And we need to get to the root cause of the increased inflammation of the brain. So what I would do is look for a change in behavior, either for yourself or your loved one. So, for example, if you always have trouble remembering where you put your keys in the morning, since for decades, it may not be Alzheimer's. But if it's a new change, or if you forget how to run the stove, or something very basic, to me that would be a red flag.
Wow. Listen, when I think about what you're saying, I think about the discovery of the topic first, because it used to be, oh, he always forgets. Oh, that's dad, or that's grandpa. Grandma just lived a hard life. But yet we're finding out that it's more than that. And we're losing people earlier than expected, meaning there's people that are losing their minds at 70, sometimes even 65. But I got to ask you this. How much does the diet affect the effects of Alzheimer's?
Yeah, so diet is one of the pieces. And I think that's because, it's a lot of reasons. Number one, if you're eating a diet high in processed sugars, that can promote what's called insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes, which can turn into what we call type 3 diabetes or Alzheimer's. Not that that's the only cause of Alzheimer's, but it is one of the root causes. Another part of diet is if you're eating foods from the top of the food chain, there are much higher levels of toxins there. And those fatty toxins can get into the brain and cause problems there. So I recommend people eat a lot from the bottom of the food chain, specifically fruits and vegetables, because you're going to get a much lower level of these fatty toxins like PCBs, DDT, forever chemicals.
What are the stages of Alzheimer's that people are facing right now? And how do we prepare to go into helping somebody in the journey that they're developing Alzheimer's? But what are the stages that you can identify that can help us prepare? Because I want to tell you something. Stay tuned, because we are going to talk about the solution that has become one of the greatest topics of conversation, which is Cardio Miracle. And it's something that I take every day. It's something that I know you take every day. And I know you're not going to want to miss it, because if anything you can do to help your loved one is Cardio Miracle. But we are going to identify stages that can help us understand more about the topic of Alzheimer's.
That sounds great.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's talk about the topics. What are the stages that we have to look forward to in the journey of walking with someone that has developed Alzheimer's?
Right. So that's a great question, and it's very important, because what we now understand is that the early stages of Alzheimer's, it can develop over, say, 30 years. In the first 15 years, you may not be aware of it. I mean, we could do specialized testing to find it, but for the general public, this is not something where you wake up one day and, oh, I've got Alzheimer's. No, this is a progressive, slow process, which is why you want to pay attention now, say in your 40s or 50s, so that 20 years from now or 30 years from now, you don't get that. So that's piece number one. Piece number two is that with these stages, I mean, we're talking 7 million people in this country, that this is not an uncommon process. And the biggest risk factor for developing Alzheimer's, based on the artificial intelligence analysis of thousands of Alzheimer's patients, turns out to be poor sleep, sleep disorders. And we understand why now, because when you sleep, and specifically deep sleep, your brain is able to clear out amyloid and other debris, bad degenerative proteins in the brain. And if you're getting deep sleep, enough deep sleep every night, your brain can do that. If you're not, then your brain can't do that. So normally the first step we take is to look at someone's sleep.
I think you just spoke to millions of people right now, because there's millions of people, including me. I'm not getting good sleep.
Right.
We're dealing with stress. We're dealing with problems. We're dealing with economics. We're dealing with the politics of this nation. We're dealing with the everyday mundane stuff that doesn't allow you to sleep. But then the second problem happens. People medicate themselves to sleep,
right,
not realizing that they're doing more damage.
100%.
Oh, man.
Right. So I'm not opposed to every once in a while someone, say, taking Benadryl to try, or another sleep agent to get to sleep. The problem is, even though you will be sleeping, normally it's not the deep restorative sleep that you need. So it's not just the number of hours. Yes, I'd love for you to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep every night. Yeah. It's not just the number of hours, it's the quality. So for example, I'm not saying you do, but if you had sleep apnea, you're not getting good sleep, even though you might be sitting, lying in bed for 7 or 8 hours.
So how do I get good sleep?
Yeah, so again, one way is if we're worried about poor sleep, I mean, we can study it. We can do sleep studies, but that's why if I'm seeing someone with Alzheimer's, that's going to be one of my first concerns.
Wow.
And to actually study it, because it's so extremely common and as a common cause of the Alzheimer's.
I am sitting down with a leading expert on reversing Alzheimer's, Dr. Josh Helman. Give me your background once again, because you're located in Florida.
Right.
Your expertise are amazing. You've become a voice in an area that is needed like never before. You're not doing this for the money. You're not doing this to get recognition. You're doing this because you love people. Yet you're seeing people every single day face challenges that look impossible, yet you look like a man filled with hope. Tell me your background once again, because your expertise in this area is something that we need, is something that we want to know more of. I want to spend a whole hour with you one day to really tackle some of the issues, but also spend time on the hope that is behind reversing Alzheimer's.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get to the place where you found yourself reversing Alzheimer's, and this epidemic has become an epidemic that we are all dealing with?
Right. So first of all, I feel this personally because growing up as a little kid, I saw my grandmother had Alzheimer's, and it wasn't just devastating for her. I could see it in my parents' eyes and in our whole family, where it's not just one generation that's affected. It's the next generation is like, oh wow, this is my mom. You know, what's going to happen to me in 20 years or 30 years? So that's number one. Number two is I grew up as a science nerd. I was literally, as a teenager, I was studying biochemistry. So, and I ended up getting 2 degrees in biochemistry.
Wow.
As a nerd, you know, I wanted to go to Harvard, so I have 2 degrees from Harvard. And I went to a combined Harvard MIT medical school program. So I think number one is I have a very strong theoretical background, and I'm double board certified in both emergency medicine and lifestyle medicine. I'm licensed in 14 states around the country, but as you mentioned, I practice mainly in Florida now.
Oh, wow.
And I started off working actually in emergency rooms. So I've seen the acute care and how you can fix acute problems. But Alzheimer's is a chronic disease with many root causes. In fact, we now know we're dealing with between 30 and 100 root causes for the Alzheimer's.
Can you name 3?
Sure. And we actually already talked about 3. One is sleep problems. One is insulin resistance. And I'll add a third one, which would be thyroid disorders.
Ooh,
But I mentioned 3. We could actually talk about 100.
Yeah.
Other toxins, infections. It's hard to only talk about 3.
Do you feel like more men get affected on this disease, or is it women, or is it equal?
No, it's interesting. It's a lot more women than men.
Wow.
And I think one of the reasons for it, because if you look at the timing, I think some of it is correlated with women going into menopause, and then 20 or 30 years later is when you're starting to see the first symptoms of the Alzheimer's.
Oh, wow.
So I think there's a hormonal component.
Wow. Listen, you just opened up a conversation that we can spend hours.
True.
And because women in our lives are dealing with this, be compassionate to the women in your life. Be compassionate towards your mother. Be compassionate towards your sister, especially towards your wife. They've done so much for us. And you know, sometimes we forget that women really are the glue that hold families together, the matriarchs of the family, the people that birth the babies,
right.
you know?
And the caregivers often.
Yeah, and listen, we don't give them enough credit. So we want to thank you, all you women that really give your lives up for making sure that we do okay that day. But Doc, I got to ask you this because our time is leaving us.
For now.
We're going to come back and maybe we can go and visit you in Florida.
That'd be amazing.
And do a seminar there, and we want to invite our partners to be a part of that. But we have a product here that has become a product that is changing the industry like I've never seen a product do.
Right.
I have been taking Cardio Miracle for the last year. I started with 6 a day. Mm-hmm. I'm now down to 3 a day, but I do it as often and as much as I can throughout the day. How has Cardio Miracle become a key to reversing Alzheimer's?
Yeah, so here's the key. Cardio Miracle improves nitric oxide, this simple gas that opens up blood vessels. And you're as healthy as your blood vessels. The brain is one of the most vascular organs. If you for some reason have problems with blood flow to your brain, this product can help support circulation in your brain.
Wow. Wow. Listen, I am drinking one right now. I know you have yours over there. Is it okay to say cheers?
Yeah.
I mix mine in.
It
tastes so good.
I love the beet flavor.
I do too. Listen, if you want to order this product right now, I want you to go to the website, JimBakerShow.com, and go to the affiliate page right now. Or better yet, give us a call right now, 1-888-988-1588, and start your journey with Cardio Miracle. Join the family of Cardio Miracle. It is changing lives. Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
I know we got to go, but what are the testimonies that you're hearing from your patients after using Cardio Miracle?
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. What I love is hearing about it increases their energy, it increases their mood, and they can get out and do things, and it often reduces pain levels.
Ooh, that is so good. Why do you recommend Cardio Miracle?
I recommend it because I've worked with John Hewlett, the creator of it, to get the components healthy and safe. There are other nitric oxide products on the market, but unfortunately, they have sweeteners in them like erythritol and xylitol, which we now know cause sticky platelets and heart attacks and stroke. So it's important not just what's in it, but what's not in it.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Cardio Miracle.
If someone wants to know more about you, where do they go and find out?
Yeah, a few places. Probably the easiest is going to be my website, which is just drjosh.com, drjosh.com. And my email address is just drjosh, drjosh, @drjosh.com.
Yeah.
And I'm on all the social media under Green Brains MD. Green Brains MD.
Listen, Dr. Josh, thank you.
Thank
Reversing
you so much.
Alzheimer's. We got to continue this conversation. Order your Cardio Miracle today. Give us a call right now, 1-888-988-1588. Or better yet, go to the website, JimBakerShow.com, and go to the affiliate page that we have set up with Cardio Miracle. Not only you're going to help us continue to do what we're doing to move forward, but also you're going to help yourself to start on a journey that is going to change your life forever. Give it a try today. I challenge you to do it because I want to tell you something. There is nothing more important than taking care of your health. Take care of yourself. It is a mandate from the Word of God. Listen, God has called us to do something great for one another. That is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. By loving one another means that you care. Order the product today and make a difference, not only for your life, but the person sitting next to you. You don't have to go through this journey alone. Together, we're going to be able to make a difference. Go to the website and give us a call today.
God bless.